Okay, guys, let's get back in. We are on the malacha of tochein, and we started to speak about various halachot of taking medication that we spoke about last class. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We spoke about pikuach nefesh. We spoke about cholek kol gufo, and we spoke about mechush ba'alma. These are three categories. There are other categories, but I don't really discuss them. For example, sakanat eiver, like a limb is in trouble of, being lost, because that nowadays falls under pikuach nefesh. We aren't at the level where we fully understand a person, lay people like ourselves, don't really understand the severity of injuries. So for the most part, we put things under pikuach nefesh, but sometimes they're under cholek kol gufo and sometimes under mechush ba'alma. So what do these three terms mean? Let's just run through them again and give me examples of each. Pikuach nefesh. Okay. What is that? Okay. Give an example of saving a life.
Even if you're not sure, it's like.
Okay, even if you're not sure, but what is it? A woman in labor is pikuach nefesh, cholek kol gufo, or mechush ba'alma. For her, it's pikuach nefesh. For her husband, it's a mechush ba'alma. No, joking, right? It's a pikuach nefesh. Give me an example of pikuach nefesh. Give me some more. Let's go. Come on. Wake up. Heart attack. Is that life-threatening? Yeah, it is. Therefore, you'll have to be machal Shabbos for it. Okay. Who should make the phone call?
Rabbi.
The most religious person in the room. Okay? Should make that phone call. Pikuach nefesh. Anything else?
What was the husband?
That was a joke. That was a joke.
Oh, the husband didn't actually.
No, that's a joke.
I didn't get it either.
My humor is lost over here. It was actually a brilliant joke, mate, right? It was a brilliant joke, but my humor is lost somewhere.
Translation, I can't understand a joke.
Oh, really? So what I was going to do is I'm going to take the translation, and then you're going to be like, that's a funny joke.
Yeah.
Sound good?
I'll probably retell it at my Shabbos table if it's okay.
Let's do it.
I don't feel well.
Let's go for it. Halacha kol gufo. What's a cholek kol gufo?
Someone feels like they need to lie down.
Okay, it's also called nofel mishkav. Right. A person who rather fall down, lie down than anything else. Are you allowed to do a Torah prohibition for a pikuach nefesh? Can a Jew do a Torah prohibition for a pikuach nefesh? Yes. Cholek kol gufo. What is that? Can a Jew do a melacha d'oraisa for such a person? No, they cannot. They cannot. Okay?
What is cholek?
Chole, they're sick. Kol gufo, their entire body feels sick. Even though it's one thing, one part of their body is affected by it, it's their entire body that's being affected by it. Such a person is allowed to take medication?
No.
Yes, they can, Esther. Write that down. Yes, they can take medication on Shabbat. Give me some examples of cholek kol gufo, please. Migraines?
Yeah.
Yep. Next?
The flu.
The flu. Next? Menstrual cramps. Tough period pains. Cholek kol gufo. Right? Although it's affecting one part of the anatomy of the body, a person, his entire body is in pain. They don't need to lie down in order to qualify for medication, but I always ask people, would you rather be lying down right now? And they say yes. Although nowadays, everyone would rather lying down than anything else anyway, yeah.
Just to clarify, taking medications derabanan?
Yeah, it's a gezerah of the rabbis on Shabbat that they don't come to do a melacha d'oraisa
So you're able to do your hands derabanan?
by taking medication, but not over here. Cholek kol gufo, you can take medication.
Yeah.
That's right. What's a mechush? Yeah.
What was the Jewish comment? You said a Jew can't. What? At the beginning.
I don't remember.
You said.
Cholek kol gufo?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can't.
Can't do a Jew cannot do a Torah prohibition over here. This is purely in order to, right, take medication. What's a mechush ba'alma? Yeah. For example, just a general headache. What else? Mosquito bite. Yeah. A rash. Chapped hands. A tummy ache. All these things. Is a person allowed to take medication if they have a mechush ba'alma? No, they cannot. Is a person allowed to drink or eat a food? Is a person allowed to eat or drink a food if they have a mechush ba'alma which relieves the symptoms. For example, they're constipated, have diarrhea or something else, can they drink a hot cup of tea with honey, which they normally would not do, but they're doing it in order to treat this mechush ba'alma? Are they allowed to take a prune juice as a form of laxative with a mechush ba'alma? Yes, they can. What's that called? Good girl. Derech Briim. Derech Briim is what it's called. That is the way of healthy people. Briim. Okay, in such a situation, you're allowed to eat those foods. All right? Okay, that's a very quick summary of last class of season 1, Hajjaf episode, Health and Healing. Let's start season 2. All right? Maya, am I talking your language?
Yeah.
Good girl.
Rob, is this going to be on the midterm?
No, it's not. Midterm is up to and including.
Oh, okay.
All right. So now we're going to go a little bit further. Let's have a
Are
look.
we still on medicine?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we still are. We have a lot to do today. We're going to look at a lot of individual halachot and ideas. Let's talk more importantly about childbirth, because God willing, it'll be relevant to all of you. B'sha'ah tova u'v'zmano. Amen. That's right. So, childbirth. At what point is a person, are you a pikuach nefesh? Are you a cholak gufa? Are you a mechush ba'alma? How are we going to divide up the different times that a person falls into any of these categories, and what can a person do and what can a person not do during these times? A woman's pregnant. She's pregnant 3 months in, 4 months in. Is she pikuach nefesh? No, she's not. Unless she really feels the symptoms are very, very bad, then she's generally like a pikuach nefesh of anybody else. So at what point does she fall into the category of pikuach nefesh? So it doesn't have to be the 9th month, really, think about it, right? Because women can give birth the 7th, 8th, or 9th month, or even earlier, right? So once a woman feels strong contractions coming on, and she feels as though she's moving to birth itself, she becomes a pikuach nefesh. Okay, so once the contractions begin, contractions, what's called chevlei leida. Once she moves into chevlei leida, she has strong contraction, she's pikuach nefesh. What does that mean for a woman who is about to give birth? Who can do what for her and when? A Jew can do anything for her. Can she do it for herself? Yeah, of course she can, right? So any Jew is allowed to do any malacha in order to save life. She is in a life-threatening situation, and we are doche Shabbat. We are doche Shabbat. We push all the halachot, all the malachot of Shabbat for her. Okay. Now, if she is able to have a non-Jew do it for her, and all things are equal, God bless you, she's able to go to the hospital, right? The contractions are very strong, but she feels as though, and she's able to go to a non-Jew, and you pre-book a taxi, or you pre-prepare money in order to do it, you pack your bags for Shabbat. Ideally, you'll get a non-Jew to take you to the hospital. That's the best way to do it, okay? Because I mentioned last class, it's not usually like the movies where you're running, rushing, running, screaming around. It comes, there's usually a general, movement from non-being, in contractions to slight. They start to get more and more frequent, the contractions, until B'ezras Hashem it ends up in birth. So getting a non-Jewish taxi driver or a non-Jewish taxi person to come, whether it's an Uber nowadays, or anything, or a Get if you're in Israel, whatever it is, that's the best way to do it. But if any other question comes up, a Jew could drive that person to the hospital, and they've done a mitzvah. Let's say they turn up at the hospital, and it's fake contractions, wasn't real. What happens? Is she allowed to go home?
Yes, you said that you could
I thought you said you could.
You said yes last time.
Or which one? Think about it. Forget what I said. What would you think?
No, you couldn't. Yeah, that's all much. They had potential to save a life. Well, woman going back.
Is she allowed to go back home? So the answer is, if she's able to stay in the hospital and there's what she needs in the hospital, then she can actually stay in the hospital. But if she wants to get back home, it's Friday night, right? And the hospital doesn't just let her stay. What's she going to do? Sit in the waiting room for 20 hours or something? It's ridiculous. She's allowed to go home, but a Jew cannot drive her back. She has to ideally find a goy, get someone to order the taxi for her, either on the phone itself or to call up a local taxi service, and she can have them come inside and take the money, or have money always ready to go before Shabbat for such a scenario. Okay? Good to have an Uber app on your phone nowadays. It used to be, a phone used to have money in an envelope waiting. That's the way it used to be when I was, at that part of my life. All right? So that's the way it should be. And she is allowed to go home. If her husband came with her, is he allowed to jump in the taxi as well? So generally speaking,
Why would it be any different at that point?
because,
He still has to sit there for 20 hours.
But isn't
Yeah.
emotional and like psychological?
that's a good question. Is that an emotional? Well,
He can't make
so
you
she
feel
basically goes home. She's by herself for the rest of Shabbat. I think, generally speaking, they allow them to go home via taxi, because she's pregnant. She needs certain things. She needs to, you know what I'm saying. So we have a little bit more, I guess, rahmanut on her. But I guess for him, we'd be like, well, it's his fault. He should stay there. After the birth, he has to stay. After the birth, we make him stay, even if he's discharged, which happened to me. I had to stay in entire Shabbat at the hospital. Really? Yeah. My wife was there anyway. Didn't let her out right afterwards. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If a woman is having contractions and going to the hospital, is her husband allowed to go with her?
Yes. Husband is allowed to go with her. Actually, you can even drive her, right? But for emotional support, yeah, we actually had my wife's doula drive us to the hospital. You know,
The helper lady?
yeah.
Wait, is it worth that?
Or you wouldn't know?
I would know. Oh, I would know, believe me. I think for it's up to you. Everyone's different. For a first one, it's definitely better to have it there, yeah.
I'm just confused. If she should try and get a non-Jew.
On the way back. On the way there, ideally, but not necessary.
Okay, but on the way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is he allowed to go back with her?
He says, Adif shetisa hayoledet. It is best for a woman in labor to be driven holchem alidei nahag goy via a non-Jew. Im yesh sham, if they have. Right? If it doesn't cause any form of, if it forms no delay whatsoever, or any form of sakana. If in doubt, go without. Right? That's pretty much the way, that's the way it is.
Is the husband allowed to go back with her after?
Yeah.
Oh wait, so after like false contractions?
False contract. Well, I'm still on false contractions over here. Says ideally she should try to stay, but if not, she's allowed to go home. Yeah. Okay. Let's say they get to the hospital and you have are you allowed to turn off the ignition of the car? Very famous question. You've arrived. You park the car. Are you allowed to turn the ignition off?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like not. Like, what's that doing? Like, it's not home.
Well, the emergency is over. You know what I'm saying? She's arrived. We're at the hospital. At what point is the emergency of her labor, right, considered to be over?
Or maybe you'll have to
Get to
drive
an
her to like a different hospital if the hospital's not good, and then the car's gonna die if you leave it in.
Okay, so if it's going to cause damage to the car, which we assume it does if you leave it on for 24 hours and the rest of it, nothing afterwards, then we allow it. But ideally, you should try to get a non-Jew to turn it off. By the way, best thing to do, in case of a nice electric vehicle, it's all to bottom anyway, most likely. Besides the lights, I'll be honest with you. That's your best bet. But if not, you can have a non-Jew come along and turn it off. Okay, you can have a non-Jew turn it off, and that's what people generally try to do. Okay, if there's no one available, you can turn it off yourself. Probably just throw a shinui in there just to make sure. Be honest with you, okay? All right. Are you allowed to plan a cesarean birth on Shabbat?
No.
A C-section.
Wait, can I clarify?
Yeah.
If there's false contractions, the husband can or cannot?
Can.
Can go back.
Yeah. Yeah. He's allowed to. Many won't, but really getting in the car to be with her on the way back.
If there's an option, do it. If it's
Are you allowed to plan a C-section? How many times they plan it? They're like, I'll see you on Tuesday and we'll do the C-section then.
unless it's the only time they can get you in, but if there's an option, do a different day.
Okay, so the answer is you basically want to try to make sure that it's not on Shabbat, unless it has to happen, and that's the way it has to happen, right? You don't plan it. You can, and you can also obviously request an epidural. All these things you can do on Shabbat, okay? All right, yeah.
You mean plan to have it on Shabbos or
You can't plan to have it on Shabbat. You can't plan to have a C-section. Many times we're like, I've had doctors say to my wife, I don't know, I've got a trip coming up. Can we, if you ever have a C-section, we do it on Saturday. I mean, people say this. They actually plan it around their schedules, and the answer is absolutely not.
And if it's on Shabbos, can you plan to
What do you mean?
It's on Shabbos and you have.
Now, show us, where are you now?
You go to the hospital for whatever reason. And
Okay.
They're like, okay, we'll do the C-section this day. Is that hachana?
So, but what's she in the hospital?
Because she thought that she
It was a false contraction.
Yeah.
And then while they're there, let's say, let's plan it for another day. That's weird. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. It's not the way it works. Okay. So now she's given birth, Baruch Hashem, all wonderful. What's her status once she's given birth? Is she a pekuach nefesh? Is she a chola kol gufo? Or is she a mechush ba'alma? No, she's a pekuach nefesh. I'll tell you. Day 1 to day 3, and that's 24-hour periods from the moment she's given birth. Okay? It's not the day itself, it's 24 hours. So it gives birth, let's say 3 p.m. on a Shabbat afternoon for 24 hours, and 24 hours, right, from the 3 p.m. They're not saying the entire Shabbat is one day. We're saying that it's called Bizman Lizmana. From the time she actually gave birth, she actually is a pekuach nefesh in every way, shape, or form. I don't care if the doctors say she's not, and I don't care if she thinks she's not. She is. That means any Jew can do a doraita for her, even if it's not even directly linked to her survival, but just even to her comfort. For example, let's say it's too hot in the room, right? And she needs to be cool. There's AC on. A Jew can directly hit that AC for her from day 1 to day 3. Let's say she says, I need hot food, and there is only cold food. If all things equal, there's no non-Jew to do it for the same amount of time, like any pekuach nefesh, a Jew can heat up the food for her. She's even allowed to move her bed around using an electric thing in order to make herself see better. She is a pekuach nefesh for the first 3 days. That's according to Ashkenazim. That's according to Sephardim. Okay? There's no difference. Day 1 to day 3, she is a, right? Hayoledet, kol shlosh yamim harishon leledata, harei hi bechezkat sakana. She is in a place of sakana. Sakana means danger, yeah. Umachalei aleh Shabbat lachol davar. You can break it at all. Even if she says, Ein tzricha, she says, I don't need, right? She's a great tzedeket, don't do it for me. You don't listen to her. Even if the doctor, the doctor says you don't need to. You can eat cold food, you'll be fine. She's like, you want hot food? You take hot food. Okay? Very, very important. Let's say in terms of personal hygiene. She wants to take a hot shower, right? She could survive with a cold shower. That's nothing to do with her life. She gets it. Questions are not asked. She can turn on the hot water herself from day 1 to day 3. There is no room for stringency in this matter. Stringency, being machmir over here, is asur. It's not holy, it's asur. And the 3 days calculated for the time of birth was over. Okay, and there are 72 hours from the moment the baby is out. Okay, so that's position number 1. All doraitos, all Torah prohibitions are suspended for her. Okay. Now, how far does it go? Can she turn on a stereo for herself because she needs music? I don't think so. Stuff that's related to her, physical health or something. And I'm saying that kind of stuff. Hot food, hot shower, heat, cold, absolutely. Okay, without a question. All right? Now, from 3 to 7 days, so now the 72-hour period is done, right? And we're now 3 days, day 3 to day 7. And once again, we're dealing with 24-hour periods. Okay? What is her position over there?
Wait, like day 3 at that time?
After the 3 days have gone. We're now day 3 to day 7. So she moves out of sakana. She's no longer pekuach nefesh. Okay? You don't violate her word. Right? However, if the doctor says she needs this, then you can violate for her. Okay, so then we start listening to the doctors, and you can, if doctor says, so the answer is she's no longer pekuach nefesh, no longer is she a pekuach nefesh, right? She's no longer sakana. If doctor says she is, then she is. Okay, if he says she needs something over there and she needs to do that, and you'll see many, many, many cases like this. This is way, way more common than you realize. Then she is. One second. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's definitely a kol gufo. Oh, that's for sure. She's definitely this. Question is, if she this? She's definitely a kol gufo. That's without question.
Is there like a difference between Dervada and Naraisa, like in general, during 3 to 7?
If she says, one second, sorry, I lost one piece. If she turns around and says, I feel really sick between 3 and 7, like she says it, oh, I'm fine, but she says, I feel very, very sick, and the doctors don't, we still follow her. Okay?
Oh.
So if she says it, if she says, I am, over here from day 3 to day 7, then we listen to her, and she's a pekuach nefesh, and she's sakana. So she listens to her own body and says, I need hot food right now, and therefore someone has to go cook a hot food, or then absolutely that's going to be okay.
Even if she's home, or this is only in the hospital, or is it not out?
Nowadays she's probably home at this point. Yeah, nowadays they kick her after 2 days.
I don't
Yeah,
want to stay there longer. It's too expensive.
they don't let you. My mother, after giving birth to me, she said she got like a week off. Not anymore. They give you like a couple of days. I can't remember anymore. Like a couple of days maybe, and then try to give birth as much as you can after 12 o'clock, because that's when the clock starts. 12:01 is perfect for a birth. All right, so really like the next day. 11:59, not a good idea. Just hold on a couple of minutes later. That's how crazy it is. Okay, so between 7, okay, fine. So that's that. So, so from 3 to 7, we listen to her. It's not, basically she's not, but if she says she is, or a doctor says she is, then she is. And that puts her to the realm of sakana. Certainly if she says that she is, then we're allowed to do it. Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, so now we have from 7 to 30. From 7 to 30. Okay? So she's basically out for a week. 7 to 30 days over here. What's her status over here? So over here, she moves down into Chola Kol Gufa for sure. And we're a lot more strict when it comes to things. Yeah. He says, Achashivs Yamim ad Shloshim Yom, so 30 days. Yep. Dino let us kedin Cholish Ein Bo Sakana. She's a Cholish Ein Bo Sakana. She's definitely out of Pekuach Nefesh, but she's in the Chola Kol Gufo, and she can take any medication, take Advil and things like that. That's okay.
Isn't that what we ordered in day 3 to 7 though?
Mm-hmm.
So it's for both?
Yeah.
Well, you said it's also
Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, but right. But over here, from 3 to 7, if she says I need, we listen to her, and a Jew can do a malacha for her. Absolutely. And I'm saying we can move her up to Pekuach Nefesh. Over here, once you hit 7 to 30, it's more difficult. It has to be like a real emergency in order to get her into the 1 second. Not break Shabbat through a Jew. So a non-Jew may be able to be employed over here from 7 to 30 if she needs it, but a Jew shouldn't be like cooking food for her from 7 to 30, as opposed to in Pekuach Nefesh, right? Or potentially in the day 3 to day 7, that could potentially happen. And if a Jew needs to do something even rabbinic from 7 to 30, he should do it with a shinoi. So even to Rabbanans, even rabbinic stuff from 7 to 30, right? A Jew does Rabbanan. You should try as best as possible to use a shinoi. Use a shinoi.
Can a non-Jew do a deoraita for her?
No.
What about a Darabanan?
Yes. Yeah.
Would this apply also to like the same days to like major surgeries and stuff? Like if someone had a heart surgery or a brain surgery or something like that.
For sure. I don't know how long that lasts for. Then you basically go to the doctors and see what they say. Then the doctor's opinion. The person doesn't really know, or maybe they feel it, but the doctor
But the
says
same
yes.
thing here, at day 3, they might feel fine, but you still say that they're
Yeah, they can put them into Pekuach Nefesh. The doctor says so for sure. Yeah.
Wait, Rabbi, what does it say? Jews something.
Where? Huh? Durabanan, yeah. A Jew can do Durabanan, but you should try to use a Shinoi. Okay? A miscarriage is the same as giving birth. A woman who miscarries, if she miscarried after 40 days of pregnancy, has the status of a woman who just gave birth, and all the laws apply as well. And if we're not sure exactly how long she is, was it 36, 38, 41, we rule leniently, and we say we give her the status as though she actually gave birth, and you follow the same procedure as a regular birth. Even a woman who gave birth within 40 days of getting pregnant, I mean, she didn't pass the 40-day mark, which is a bit of a watershed. If she lost a lot of blood or something, then it's a regular surgery, and we can follow the same procedure over here. My wife had a miscarriage. Very few among the frum world have miscarriages, unfortunately, because 1 out of every 5, I think, statistically is a miscarriage anyway, so we have a lot of kids. She had one, so I remember afterwards she was in the hospital for a day or so, and we follow these procedures. It's very, very common.
Wait, so if she didn't reach day 40?
Usually within day 40, it's not considered a fetus, right? But if she lost a lot of blood and it was traumatic, which it is physically for many, many women, depends on the woman, really, then you make a decision, but you give her the same status as a regular birth, even within 40 days of getting pregnant, yeah. Okay? All right. You are allowed to break Shabbat, B'chala Shabbat, in order to save a fetus as well, even if she's okay. Okay? Let's say the fetus is in danger, but she's fine. Just the fetus is in danger. You give her B'chala Shabbat. Right, this idea of basically violating one Shabbat for the child's sake, so they can keep more Shabbatot, which is basically the premise to everything we're discussing, applies to a fetus as well, he says. Yep. Achal Shabbat la'tziloto, shalanan shemirat hamitzvot omrim chalal alav Shabbat achad kedei shishmor Shabbatot harbeh. You can break one Shabbat in order to keep many more Shabbats, so that you assume that the child's going to make it, become a baby, and therefore be able to do it. And you can obviously perform surgery on that fetus on Shabbat as well. Just, of course, you can do a Brit Milah on Shabbat as long as the baby's born on Shabbat. Okay? But not if it was a C-section. So if there's a C-section that fell on Shabbat, then you don't do the Brit Milah, right? On the next Shabbat. Yeah. A child was born on Shabbat, but C-section is not circumcised on the following Shabbat. Okay? It can be circumcised any day after that, even though it's the 8th day. But a child that is conceived by artificial insemination or IVF that was delivered naturally on Shabbat, then we do it on Shabbat. Okay? Born on Shabbat, because the Shabbat's considered the first of the 8 days, right? It goes from Shabbat to Shabbat. You know that, right? Okay. All right.
Sometimes it could just be done on Shabbos.
Right. Oh, this is a great question. This one, I had to deal with this one. I didn't read this. This is a very good question. I've had to deal with this a bunch of times. And I've actually gone different ways on this. Let's say the baby's born on Shabbat, circumcision on Shabbat. And if you do the circumcision, people are going to come be Mechala Shabbat because you have non-religious relatives who are going to turn up for the circumcision. Are you allowed to postpone it for a day? So Avad Yosef says, the Ashkenazi post can pretty much clear that you do it, but Avad Yosef says you try to do it on the Shabbat anyway because you don't want to push off for that reason. But he says that our rules sometimes you feel it's going to make a big Chilul Hashem, and they're all going to be driving in because of these non-religious relatives you have are going to come up on Shabbat, which happens. Then you are allowed to push it off to Sunday the next day, and people have done that because really it's mitzvah at least after that day. He says, B'kol makom, Masa Haya, there was once a time when the community, the rabbis used to rule that they postpone until Sunday. This is a one-time measure. It's not a general ruling. Okay? To reinforce the idea of how important Shabbat actually is. But he says you should still speak to your local Orthodox rabbi, right, in order to be clear on that. All right? Fine, so she's given birth, she's in hospital. Let's say she's in hospital. Let's say you gave birth on Friday. We're actually with my daughter, who just got married. She was born Erev Shabbat, which happened to also be Chanukah. So what are you going to do over there? Do you light candles? Do they not light candles? What do they do with that? So you're not allowed to light candles in hospitals because it blows them up, and the hospital's usually against that happening. Therefore, if you are there, you can turn on electric light, but you do not make a bracha.
Wait, what? For turning on the electric light for what?
In order to be makabel, no, Shabbat candles. You can't light Shabbat candles. So you just turn on the lights.
Like if you're in the hospital.
Yeah, there are Sfari poskim who say you do make a bracha if it's dark before and you make it over the light. Ashkenazi poskim clearly say you do not, as far as I know. I've never seen an Ashkenazi post that allows it. He says there are those who do say you can make a bracha even on electric light. But your husband should light at home, actually. Okay, if he's at home,
Yeah, let's keep with you.
then you're stuck with you. I was not allowed to light the Hanukkah candles, so that year I did the electric menorah thing. By the way, no bracha. By the way, you know what's better? Since the electric lights are plugged in, it's actually better to light a battery-operated light in that circumstance, because it's based upon the fact that oil or candles, the source is there. Everything you need for it is in one cup. It's not being channeled from any other place, right? So a flashlight, yeah, or a battery-operated light would probably, like those tea light things you could just turn on, is probably better, without a bracha anyway, probably better than lighting something linked to, I know everyone's got the plug-in menorahs, you know what I'm saying, all those people, those are probably worse because there's not a self-contained source of light, you know what I'm saying? That's, okay, but otherwise you just turn on the light. He brings down that some people do make a bracha on it. Okay? All right, so that is that. Do we cover any question on that? Turning off the car. Okay. Okay, let's get back to general questions when it comes to healing on Shabbat. So we already said that if a person's not so sick, if they're mechosh baba, they should not take medication, excluding children and elderly people. Okay. We did that already. Taking painkillers, not so sick. Vitamins we said are okay. Are you allowed to take an injection, a shot on Shabbat? Let's say you're one of the many Jewish people who are on. Thank you. I don't want to say the word. But you're one of the people who is on the Ozempic ritual, which is 90% of the Jewish people probably out there. Are you allowed to take an Ozempic shot on Shabbat? Can you inject yourself?
You can schedule it around it.
But let's say you want to. Let's say that's your part of your schedule. Are you allowed to take a shot on Shabbat?
If you have to.
What would be the problem? What would be the problem per se? What?
You're like making yourself bleed.
Okay, so bleeding is a problem, right? Shchita, you cannot make yourself bleed on Shabbat. Okay, you cannot make yourself bleed on Shabbat. Are you always guaranteed when you put a shot inside yourself you're going to bleed?
Yeah, usually.
Is it possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible that you're not going to? Yeah. I remember during my smicha, my Rav, who gave me smicha, brought a needle in, poked himself 10 times, and showed us that not every time you poke yourself with a needle do you actually bleed, right? Maybe one out of... therefore, it is permitted to take a shot on Shabbat.
But it's medicine.
So, are you allowed to take a medicine on Shabbat? That involves this kind of thing. So over here, since it's a course of treatment like antibiotics we said, that's going to be allowed as well. So I think taking Ozempic or Mounjaro, one of the other many things actually would be permitted on Shabbat. Okay? So too, other pills that don't heal an illness, right? The whole thing when it came to medication not being allowed to be taken on Shabbat is to heal an illness. But let's say it's not an illness. Let's say you want to go to sleep. Okay? Are you allowed to take sleeping pills?
That are prescribed you do every day?
Yeah, not even. I want to take a sleeping pill.
Well, why is that different than taking Advil?
Because you're not healing something. It's allowing you to fall asleep. It's not healing a condition. The whole issue when it comes to medications is it's healing you in some way. Here it's not healing me, right? I can't sleep and I want to fall asleep. So over there, no, that would be. Taking Advil, I'm healing, I have this thing and it's taking away the pain. It's healing something that's wrong with me. But taking a sleep medication, right, because you can't sleep, would be absolutely okay.
Are you allowed to take a Ricola on Shabbos?
So the question is Ricola, is it healing? Is it healing you, or is it a nice candy?
It's like when I take it because I have a sore throat or.
Okay, but you can drink a cup of tea if you've got a sore throat. My question is it derech briim? I'm drinking a cup of tea with lemon inside or honey inside because I want to cure my throat, but I'm allowed to do that.
Well, it has menthol in it. Maybe
Is that a refuah or is that just like a nice thing?
No, it's
I think it's just a candy. It's not a problem. Yeah, it's not a medication. It's nothing.
well, the menthol, like it's used for sore throat.
Whatever. I don't think it's a problem. Fertility medication, contraceptive medication, anything else you do with that? If you miss, absolutely you're allowed to, since usually they're a course of treatment.
What about lactose pills?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you're not healing it, you're just stopping something. That would be okay as well. If you want to take, what are they called?
What about like a Tums? Lactate?
A lactate, that's okay. Healthy person suffers from constipation could drink prune juice. You can even take an enema if you need. And take a suppository. Yeah. That's okay. So is taking erectile dysfunction medication would also be okay. So it's just pushing the blood around. That would be permitted as well on Shabbat.
Isn't that healing?
It's not healing. It's not healing it. It's just helping a person. It's not healing a problem. Okay? Toothaches, we said, and eye aches are considered to be internal injuries, and therefore a person whose tooth hurts can take medication.
Why is it internal injury has nothing to do with a headache?
Yeah, no, we're saying a severe headache is a problem. A headache's not considered to be an internal injury as such, internal pain. Every pain hurts you inside your body somewhere,
Like, yes.
but it's not enough to, a mild headache will still be a mechash ba'alma. It's just a mild thing. Once it gets, then it's a problem. But toothaches considered to be like internal organs, like there's an internal organ inside you that is actually in danger. If a toothache is so severe that the pain affects one's whole body, right, that one took to his bed, nufel mishkav, you can take full medication. Okay. We're going to see when we get to another malacha at the end of the semester, Mr. Hashem, if we get there, you cannot smear ointments or non-flowing cream onto your body. An oil you can. So are you allowed to take a Band-Aid and put on it? You know what I'm talking about? Like a Neosporin and put that on. So the answer is actually you are not allowed to do that.
But what if you're not smearing it and you're just like patting it on?
I've heard people say that.
But if you're not smearing it, you're just
Dabbing, and then it comes along, goes on its own.
You're putting a glove and you're putting a Band-Aid over it.
Well, same thing like with the baby when you put the thing.
The cream on them.
Creams, I've heard one said
Yeah.
like really hurts, then you could smear cream in like with like the back of your hand.
That's a shinoi you're trying to say. Throw a shinoi over there.
Yeah. Is that true?
If it's an oil-based thing, you can for sure.
Is Vaseline oily?
No, Vaseline is considered to be a thick item. That you cannot use Vaseline on Shabbat. One second. One second. Okay, a non-Jew do it for you, for example. Doesn't like it. You can ask your rabbi about that one. He seems to think it's a problem. But I've heard the dabbing thing. You just put it on, but when it's on, it happens by itself. You're not smearing it in. I hear it. I know people do it. I know my daughter learned that in seminary, and she like dabs and doesn't actually. And then it happens by itself.
And yeah, and I
Is that what you learned?
I learned something about the cream from a very right-wing rabbi.
He said you use a
He
shinoi.
said you probably don't even have to use a shinoi, but do it with the back of your hand.
If it's really that bad that you're.
Bothering you. Like my hands get like really dry, they bleed.
I have the same thing, yeah.
Like if it ruins your Oneg Shabbat.
Yeah, exactly.
There is such an idea of it ruining your Oneg Shabbat, actually allowed to do it like that. Okay, if that's you heard Makabal, I hear it. He doesn't mention over here. He does not mention over here. But he doesn't mention everything over here. 1 second. Let's see what the Ashkenazi postscript have to say on this one. I'm not confident. 1 second. Punctured artery, balls. Oh, are you allowed to squeeze a zit on Shabbat?
No.
No, because you could bleed.
Why would you ever do that?
Person's got you got a pus-filled boil, and you want to get rid of it.
Are you allowed?
I'm asking you a question. It's a serious question.
No, it's aren't you ripping your
No, it's not schita. No, the problem is maybe by squeezing it, you're going to bring out blood, and it's shchita. Shchita. That would be a possibility.
skin? Like, isn't that gozes or something?
No, gozes, we said, is plucking hair or skin off. Here I'm just opening it up. I'm making a little hole in order to relieve the pain I'm in. So you are allowed to remove pus, and Avadish said even a bit of blood's mixed in there, you're allowed to do it. It's causing you pain. So someone asked me, is emotional pain enough? You want to walk around with a big, zit on your face on Shabbat, I'm saying? Let's do that. If that causes emotional pain, it's probably not such a problem. Take the pus out. Mappus morsa, you can squeeze it and get the pus out. What was I looking at though? I was talking about you can squeeze a spot on Shabbat.
Rabbi?
Give me 1 second. Sleeping pills. You can spray insect repellent, that's also going to be okay. Yeah, 1 second. Oil base is absolutely okay. She's saying that even like a cream is okay because you are. Talcum powder is okay. Yes, the Gemara says you can squeeze a spot or a boil or a pus-filled pimple on Shabbat. It says yeah. Because you're not actually doing anything. As long as not blood's going to come out. But it says even a little bit of blood comes out, it's not a problem.
Only if it's causing your pain or just...
Yeah, it's causing you pain. Yeah. Can't find it. Okay, I want to look into that one. A thick cream.
Someone's a diabetic, they count as piquant.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that, yeah. Ah, here we go. Here we go. You can't rub oil onto body as a medical condition, to treat a medical condition. However, one whose condition could be classified as suffering from a slight illness or non-dangerous may do so. So when we rub oil onto a wound, if the wound is already healed, when we rub oil onto it, it's better to pour oil on the skin next to the wound, let it run onto it. Yeah, he says you can. Yeah.
What if you have like a...
1 second. I think the best thing to do in this situation seems to be like a runny oil. You heard that you can use like a thick cream, regular thick cream, like
Because it's the type of cream that like gets absorbed.
absorbed. That's the difference. So, but most creams do not get absorbed.
No, but like if like there's a difference between like Vaseline that like stays on top.
Yes, very good. Now that's a good distinction. If it stays on top, then if that's mamareach. If it absorbs, that's why you can use liquid soap on Shabbat as well, because it goes into the skin itself. That will be allowed. So if it goes into the skin and it's like not oily or creamy afterwards, then it's going to be okay. That you can use. Yeah, very good.
Like without
Yep.
any.
Yes, without any conditions.
So like, let's say a moisturizer cream that gets absorbed into your skin.
If it gets absorbed, it doesn't leave like a layer on top. Even a Moshe Feinstein would say that's okay, I believe.
Even if it's not like a horrible cream.
I think so. As long as it goes into the skin, like a lotion goes into the skin, yeah. But if it leaves like a layer of like stuff on top,
Like Vaseline.
like Vaseline, that would be problematic,
But like,
yeah.
every moisturizer, like every good moisturizer, just like sinks into your skin. I think.
Then you're probably okay with it. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been having terrible dry hands for the past few weeks, actually. Yeah.
With the oils, are you allowed to smear them on your hands?
Oils, yes. He says some people put it near it, let it drip onto the area.
Is this
Yeah.
off before long?
Spraying something on you is absolutely okay.
But it's like foamy.
That's fine. And you can even use a pump spray, which turns into liquid. You rub it afterwards. Yeah, Esther?
What if like you pick your lips, right, and then
You shouldn't.
I know, yeah, it's bad, but like sometimes you do it, and like until the point like you rip it or it bleeds. But,
Yeah, it's a problem on Shabbat. You should not do that on Shabbat.
Right, but if
We're going to see when it comes to nails, we're going to see when we get to Gozer's Malacha. If it's mostly detached, 50% or more, you can remove it. He even says if there's like skin that's hanging off, there's a certain thing which every yeshiva boy learns in yeshiva. If the skin, if the aura is facing upwards, it's okay. Facing downwards, not okay, but we don't know what that really means anymore. So generally speaking, try not to use a shin or even to remove like a little bit of skin that's hanging out, that's really annoying you. But generally speaking, you should not be like doing this kind of thing on Shabbat. It's difficult.
what if like when I put Vaseline, it prevents me from doing that,
You cannot use Vaseline on Shabbat.
even if it's gonna.
That's way too thick. I'm convinced, I've never had anyone say you can use like a Vaseline on Shabbat that leaves like a thing on you. Yeah. No, not a bar. You choose a liquid. You cannot, Aquaphor is like a Vaseline. It's the same kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You should try not to use that. Isn't there more like definitely a more runnier one you can use?
I've never heard of a liquid chapstick. Do they exist?
Maybe Aquaphor, is Aquaphor like, I think Aquaphor is a little bit less.
No, it's like Vaseline.
It's like Vaseline.
Really thick, yeah.
It's really thick.
So they don't let you use that? What do they say?
It's really thick.
No, they allow us to use the spray one.
Can you use blister?
Yeah,
Oh,
because that's like
Blistex,
an oil
thank you. Can we? No, it's medicine.
Blistex is just as thick as Vaseline.
Yeah.
My daughter dabs a lot of stuff. I don't know how she gets away with it.
What if you dab Vaseline? Or the Blistex, whatever.
I don't think you can do that. Yeah.
Carmex? What if something is like temperature based? Like in your house, it happens to be cold, so that liquid is like, let's say coconut oil.
Yeah.
That liquid is like very like together.
Yeah.
But let's say it happens to be hot in your house, and it's like turns.
Yeah. If you can use it. You can use it if where you are that moment it's like a liquidy thing, then it's going to be okay. That's why you can use Purell, what's it called out there, all that stuff? Hand sanitizer, although it's like quite a gel. Once it goes on, it turns into liquid. You can use that on your skin on Shabbat, absolutely.
Even if it's cold in your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about like on a burn? Like you could put Aquaphor on burns.
Well, once you have a burn, you're dealing with a more serious condition, then it's going to be okay. Then it's going to be okay.
You touch your finger on the pot.
I also had burns.
Yeah. That's painful. That's a burn. Yeah, that would be okay. Yeah. Removing a splinter with a needle is permitted on Shabbat. You can remove a splinter in an adult or child, even though you're using a needle to get out and may cause blood to come out. You can still do that.
Can you use tweezers to remove it? Or
Yeah.
any needle?
Even a needle. Yeah, tweezers, needle, whatever you want. Yeah. May move a sewing needle to remove it, even if one draws some blood in the process, since he does not mean to use the blood. You don't want the blood to come out. Right? It's a melacha she'ein tzricha legufa, he says. Remember that?
Like a splinter that's really deep in. And
No
you have to,
problem.
like, rip your skin
Go. He says you could do it.
Go dig in.
It's of no consequence. It's a melacha she'ein tzricha legufa.
We
Yeah, band-aids you're going to have to use. We'll see. We're going to get to tofu. We're going to talk about, yeah, you can use it because it doesn't apply on skin.
What if you have to rip the Band-Aid packaging open to get it out?
No problem. You have to. You're destroying the packaging, so that's totally okay. The Band-Aid, when it comes to tofu, sewing and attaching, it's only on one item to another item. It doesn't apply to skin. What you should probably not do, they say, is to revolve the Band-Aid around and attach it to itself. You should try not to, 1 second. So when you're attaching a Band-Aid, you don't want to attach it to itself. You want to attach it directly to the skin because there's no tofu sewing when it comes to skin. When we get to that malach, we'll see that in more detail. Yeah.
Let's say somebody is not in a life-threatening situation, like they need stitches on their face. Let's say.
Okay, very, very good question. Okay, are you allowed to get stitches on Shabbat? Okay, that's a very, very good question. There are Jewish doctors who will not do it. Tofer, we get to Tofer, that particular one, which is sewing, will not do it. They'll say because it's totally okay to leave it. If it's a big wound, obviously, then yeah. But let's say it's a cosmetic thing, it's a face something, they will say no, leave it till after Shabbat, and we'll take care of it then.
Well, if it's a non-Jew doing it,
Good one, good one. Non-Jews are, okay, talking about a Jew doing it. Hold on. I read an entire piece on this. I haven't written down yet. I don't know. Wait for it. Wait for it. Muksa, blah, blah, blah. Hospital medication. I have to find out. I'll find another time when we get to that. When we get to Tofa, I'll go into it. But he speaks about it and says when it comes to doing it, you ideally should have a non-Jew do it for you. That's the best way to do it, he says. Same thing. Jew is a Jew. What's the difference? You can't make a Jew do a malacha for you.
Have a non-Jewish doctor do it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Even if it's not life-threatening?
I'm talking about if it's life-threatening, it's not even a question. Get anyone to do it.
Can you go, like, get a taxi to the hospital if you need stitches?
Do you have to walk there?
No, I have to walk there. No, you can go by car if it's a problem. But if it's not dangerous, you probably shouldn't. You probably wait till after Shabbat. If it's not life-threatening. If you know it's not life-threatening. I have it here somewhere. I read it this morning. Where is it? Okay, we'll get to Tofa. I'm going to find that piece and we'll go through it together. Okay? Okay, the splinter. Blah, blah, blah. Wait for it. Okay. I think that's it, right? Any other questions? You're allowed to put on sunscreen on Shabbat, spray it on. The cream one is more problematic because it does leave a layer on top. That's basically the nature of it. But if you want to spray it on, you can. Yeah?
I have a question about the midterm.
Yeah.
Is the stuff about the malachas not like about creative action and do we have to know the four categories
Yes.
of it? Okay.
Yeah.
If you bring on spray sunscreen, can
Yeah.
you rub the
No, you should probably just put it on.
spray it on?
Spray it on. Unless it calls like a liquid. If it comes out very, very liquid, which I think it does actually most of the time, then you can, I think.
What about the
But it goes in. You can rub oils. It comes like an oil. It doesn't, yeah, most of that. But the sun creams, though. I guess when you spread on, you can. That's very liquidy. Yeah, I think so. That's liquidy, and it goes in. It's absorbed to the skin. But the creams actually are much, much different. Yeah. Yeah.
Is bar soap considered a lotion?
You should not use bars of soap on Shabbat. It's no lad. It's something else related to Mamareach. Yeah, you should not use deodorant stick or lipstick at all. Stick.
If I put on lipstick before Shabbat, am I allowed to rub my lips together to get it?
Get it what?
on Shabbat?
Well, how does that happen? Well, as soon as you put it on, you cover it.
Sometimes you put on chapstick and then right before Shabbat and then you rub them around
I think the rubbing around with your lips like this is because it's a shinoi. It's going to be okay. Yeah, as long as it's applied before Shabbat. Yeah.
what about makeup? What exactly
Okay, so makeup I'm not going to do right now. That's its own area. That's going under surveyor. I'm going to get there. I can't get into makeup right now. Good? Okay. I think that's it. But I want to talk about the stitches thing, but we'll do that when we get to Tofer, which is where it falls. Okay, Meraked is the 9th malakah. The 9th malacha is Meraked. Is that right? Is that what we're up to? Yeah. Is that what we're up to? Yeah.
So even if we do it with the Shinoi Vaseline, we cannot do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm just letting that.
No, I don't think so. I mean, ask your local rabbi. I don't see why that would be permitted. I do not see how that would be permitted. Okay, let's just do this quick malacha because we've pretty much run out of time. Okay, so Meraked is a form of sifting. Meraked is sifting. And the word itself obviously comes from the idea of rikkud dancing because the items are going to dance up and down on the sieve. Okay, so it's Meraked. You cannot use a sifter. The act of sifting a mixture to remove impurities, things you don't want. Okay, that you cannot do. I'm going to give you an exception, and to this day I don't know why this is an exception, but I know it is. And actually, last Shabbat, weirdly enough, I had someone in my house, and he says, I don't know why I'm allowed to do it, my Rav said I can, and you are allowed to do it. And it goes like this. You're making a cup of coffee, and you put down a filter. Yeah? And you put the coffee on top, and you pour the hot water on top. Okay? Leaving aside the bishul situation, which is not so bad over here, we'll figure that out when we get to bishul. And you pour it on top, and it passes through the filter. You know what I'm talking about? I assumed for a long time you're not allowed to do that. I went to a big Rav's house. I see him doing it. I was like, he goes, that is not Meraked, that's permitted.
Wait, what is it?
You're using those like paper filter things. You put the coffee inside. The coffee.
Kind of like tea, though.
Or
It's the
tea.
Same idea. Isn't it the
Oh, the
same
thing that
idea?
catches the tea leaves?
No, because when it comes to the tea, you're immersing the tea bag inside and then pulling it out. Here, I'm splashing water onto a paper filter, which I would have thought was a problem, with coffee on top, right? That's what they do.
But nothing's coming even.
And then I'm using this paper as a sifter to let it go through, and yet it is allowed.
How could it be allowed if there's no
I
protection?
still haven't fully figured it out.
So it's really relatively large impurities.
Well, yeah, if you're leaving the entire thing.
You can't strain noodles. You can't strain noodles in a strainer. That you can't do. One second, so I can find it over here. Give me 1 second. Faucet filters, we said, are not a problem. Let's see what our Sephardi brothers have to say on this. Give me a second. Maybe something from Avad Yosef about this, because he got all these questions. Squeezing, selecting, winnowing. Give me a second over here. You can filter clear wine or water, we said, through a cloth strainer. That's okay. So why is that coffee thing okay? I need to look into it.
Wait, you can filter wine? Like the sediment?
Tea bags you can do.
Because like they're separate or like it's a secondary thing?
You're doing it directly. I don't get it. I just don't get it. 1 second.
If you're drinking coffee, you're not gonna, the water that's in through is gonna.
He doesn't mention it. I should have looked at it before. He doesn't mention it.
Oh, maybe it's because you don't eat the whole ground. Usually it's just what's on
But I'm
top.
using that piece of paper as a.
But you don't end up eating the whole coffee part of it. It's like discardable.
That's the problem. You cannot use. What's the difference between that?
Here, I'll tell you.
Go.
The OU says this.
Ah.
Like,
Whoa, that's very interesting. So there was no change. The water was there, and the water comes out. It's the same water beforehand. The actual sifting itself didn't change it. When you put the noodles in, you couldn't eat them beforehand because they were absorbed. That's very clever.
How's it different than like
Oh.
beans
You
and
can
garlic?
totally drink that water though from
You can
Costco.
drink the water before, drink the water. Yeah, but you're not going to. You're going to sift that. You don't want the water. Here, I want the water before, I want the water after. You just had a little bit added in. So there's no change. We said that in order to be boreh, there has to be a change in the item itself. It's in need of improvement. Here, there's no need of improvement, and therefore it's okay. That's what it is. That's why I couldn't understand it. The water is the same before it goes through the filter with the coffee and the granules and comes out, just a different color, but there's no intrinsic change to the liquid itself. So you're allowed to do it for that reason. That's a clever get out. Yeah, that works. You hear the difference? As opposed to noodles that are soaked in water, I'm going to separate because I don't want the water. That is a separation of stuff I don't want. Here's the same water before to water afterwards. That's okay. Boom. By the way, you're going to use that. That's a good one. Yeah.
What about the tea bags that are like, it's not like leaves, it's like pieces and you put it in like a tea filter?
Same thing. That's a tea bag. You describe your tea bag
Oh,
the same
so
way.
you're making sure like the pieces don't get mixed up in your water. Isn't that sifting?
You put like a metal thing or something, or a plastic thing, and you put tea leaves inside.
No. It's like the tea that you scoop out and you put it into like a paper.
Yeah, same thing. That'll be okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, that'll be okay. Based upon the same premise that the water before and the water afterwards is exactly the same. You're not straining something out. That's why it's allowed. All right, I'm done. See you all for midterm on Tuesday. Which Tuesday? That's right.